Welcome to Ole Walls House. It's me. It's your man. It's your main man. It's Ole Walls, and I'm back with you. Episode number 149. 149. Crazy. Coming your way. Another fun show to go over everything that was in the past week. We got a lot to get into. We got sports. We got elections. We got life in general. A lot of fun stuff. Before we dive in, if we could, housekeeping, we got to do it. Please rate, review, comment, subscribe, share. Let everybody know Ole Walls House is the place to be. So you can find us YouTube, Spotify, Amazon, Apple Podcasts. So go there, like the pages, subscribe to them, follow them, whatever you may be. Really appreciate all that. So without much further ado, why don't you say we dive into this week's ep? NFL. Oh, hang on. Got my window open. Might be creating some noise here, people. Might be creating some noise. Doing it live. NFL Week 10. All but in the books. We have Dolphins Rams tonight on Monday Night Football. So let's go back to Monday Night Football from last week. Didn't talk about it. But the Chiefs, because we're going to double this up with the Chiefs for this week. The Chiefs escape in a Monday night game against the Buccaneers. The Broncos were this week. Baker gets it to overtime. And we'll talk about Baker again this week too. But the Chiefs, they're living on the edge, man. They are just living on the edge. They remained undefeated on Monday night last week with an overtime thriller. And then this week in, a game that the Broncos looked like they had won. Looked like a field goal at the last second was going to give them the 1-point win. And the Chiefs just absolutely annihilate the left side of the line on the field goal attempt, and they get a walk-off field goal block. I can't think of too many of those that I've seen throughout my lifetime of watching the NFL, but holy moly, what a finish that was. A couple of things about the Chiefs here. So obviously undefeated this year, won the Super Bowl last year. Their last loss came on Christmas Day of last year. They've now won 15 straight games. It's the longest winning streak in the NFL, that's counting playoffs, since the Packers in 2010 into 2011. I believe those Packers won something like 19 or 20 straight games. Just an incredible run for the Chiefs so far. They have trailed at some point in 8 of the 9 games they have won this year. So 8 comeback wins for them this year. I do wonder, it's like, how long can they keep this up? Like, you can't just win every close game, and if you do, by God, this is one hell of a team. Obviously they just won the Super Bowl last year, but like to just continually win close game after close game and come back from being down 8 of the 9 times they've played football this year, it feels like it's not sustainable. I'm not saying they're going to become bad all of a sudden, but how long can they keep this up? And then it feels like one of those things where if you do keep it up, it's like, man, are they as good, as they were last year? I mean, their defense has been phenomenal this year. Their offense has got a little shot of life. Travis Kelce's coming around, and DeAndre Hopkins. But it's like you can't do this forever. Like you can't pin your hopes that you're just going to keep coming back and you're going to come back all through the playoffs. I mean, the Broncos are a team that's on the verge of maybe making the playoffs this year. But like, can you do this against the playoff caliber teams in the AFC? Like, can you do this against the Bills? I don't know if you can do that against the Bills. Like, the Chargers look all right. Can that be something that you just continually try and pull off? I mean, the Steelers, like, can you just, the idea that you're just going to keep coming back and winning games late, it's just going to be something that you can continue to do. And there's a couple of things that pop to my mind when thinking about this. I think it was like the 2014 Florida State team in college football. They had won the national title with Jameis in 2013. They came back and were undefeated again the next year. I think that was the first year of the 14 playoff. And then they got blown out. But they won close game after close game after close game. And you just wondered, like, can they sustain this? I think the Chiefs are a better team in comparison to the NFL than that Florida State was in comparison to college football in that year. But it's like that rings in my mind. And another one that rings in my mind was the Memphis college basketball team when John Calipari was the coach when they had Derrick Rose in 08. Was Michael Kidd Gilchrist on that team too? I forget who it was. But they couldn't shoot foul shots. They were a horrendous foul shooting team. And they went undefeated in the regular season, playing in a little bit of a lesser conference at the time. And, Calipari's like, oh, we'll make them when it matters. We do. We make them when it matters, and that's how it'll be. And the thought was like, well, yeah, sure, that's a great sentiment, but, like, can you actually? And, again, they're not exact parallels with these teams, but I get this feeling amongst the Chiefs. It's like, how long do you just keep pulling the rabbit out of the hat? Like, now you're blocking kicks, you're getting overtime wins, you're coming from behind. Is it sustainable? Can they do this in the playoffs? I think that's a whole other question. I'm not saying they're a bad team. They still have the best quarterback in the league. They have a phenomenal defense this year. They have one of, if not the best tight end ever, but he's on, the back end of his career. I wonder, can they keep this up? So they're obviously, it's hard pressed to say that another team's better. There's another better team in the NFL than the Kansas City Chiefs. They've won all their games. They're defending Super Bowl champs. But there's a little prickly thing out there that's causing some worry. And I do wonder, like, is this forever sustainable? So I won't keep rambling on about that. We'll run through the rest of the week. We had an all-time awesome game on Thursday night. We had the Ravens and the Bengals. The Bengals get out early, and the Ravens just elected to try their hand at not covering Jamar Chase. I think he ended up with like 250 some yards. Pull it up here. He scored 60 fantasy points. Just absolutely clear. 11 catches, 264 yards. I shorted him a little bit there, and 3 touchdowns. Joe Burrow threw the ball 56 times, 34 of 56 for 428 and 4 tutties. And the Ravens are able to score 21 fourth quarter points and come back and win that game. And the Bengals elected to go for 2 to win the game. And they were not able to pull it off. They went up 21-7 at the start of the third quarter on, you would guess it, a deep ball to Jamar Chase. From there, the Ravens ripped off 3 straight touchdowns, and then, what do you know, a 70-yard ball to Jamar Chase. This is just silly. Ravens take the lead back. They go back, and they get another ball to, once again, you guessed it, Jamar Chase. But they elect to go for 2. Questionable couple non-calls on the 2-point conversion. But, again, it's hard to sit here and be like, hey, it's the ref's fault we didn't lose. You're up 21-7. Like, just hold on to the lead, and you don't have to worry about it. We'll get to the standings. Joe Burrow is playing some good football right now. There's obviously some worry with the Bengals. They're 4-6. We'll talk more about the standings here after we kind of run through the rest of the games. But Joe Burrow's playing some good ball. Jamar Chase is. It's just the slow start is troubling again to the Bengals. Like it's causing some issues. In a game of just shit teams to start off Sunday, we got Panthers Giants. Just all-time dog shit game, but it was fun as hell. Just back and forth, turnovers, just all over the place. Panthers end up pulling out the win. Just crazy. Patriots Bears. The Patriots just laid on the Bears. The Bears are in kind of free fall. I'm trying to see here how many games they've lost in a row here now. Get to that real quick. 3 in a row for the Bears, and I think it's like 5 of 6. 4 of 6. No, 5 of 7. 5 of 7. They lost 3 in a row. Before that, they'd won 2 in a row, and before that, they'd lost 3. I'm an idiot. It's 4 of 7. 4 of 7. Whatever. Who knows? It's 3 in a row for sure, and the line is struggling. I took a picture of a good tweet, I thought, here. Uh-oh. Where's my pictures? Did I not take a picture of it? I didn't take a picture of it. Okay. Why would I? Mitch Schwartz. No, Jeff Schwartz. Jeff Schwartz. Mitch is his brother. He put out a good tweet. He was like, "Hey, I could break down the tape for the Bears, but there's 4 real big problems. 1, they're getting beat 1-on-1. 2, the scheme's bad. 3, receivers aren't getting open. 4, Caleb Williams just isn't seeing his open receivers, and that's a problem too. And if he is feeling the pressure, he's not finding the hot route to get rid of him. So, not good in Chicago. Hopefully it stays not good in Chicago this coming week. And, the Packers, who I feel like are really struggling to get some pressure on the quarterback, this is kind of going to be a good test for them. Like, can they put pressure on against a team who isn't protecting at all? And if they can't, there's some questions to be asked of them. We talked Broncos, Chiefs, 49ers. Christian McCaffrey comes back, has a nice productive week. 49ers and got a win. A little controversy on the sidelines. Deebo Samuel kind of takes a swipe at the kicker or the long snapper. The long snapper getting in to defend the kicker. Kicker comes through in the clutch finally after missing a couple early, gets the game winner. Bills Colts, a game the Bills got out pretty early, and I think they were up 17. They got up 10-3. Colts come back and answer. Bills kind of run away late. Got up as much as 30-13 before a just absolute garbage field touchdown with 2 seconds left. But the Bills just keep going. Steelers, Commanders. The Steelers for real? Because I think the Commanders are good, and the Steelers went in there and picked up a win. I believe they got the Commanders to jump off sides to secure the final first down they needed to ice the clock. Steelers 3-0 now with Russell the Muscle. They are in a very, very nice position. Strong defense. Russell the Muscle looking solid. That's a team to keep in mind for playoff time, I think. Jags lose to the Vikings in just a sloppy game. I think Sam Darnold threw at least 2, if not 3 interceptions in the end zone. I think it was 3 total on the day, but 2 of them were literally in the end zone. Sloppy game, 12-7. The Jags, after holding the Vikings on 3rd down, they have no timeouts left, or used their last timeout. I think there were no timeouts left. They were going to get the ball back. Not a lot of time. Not a high prospect to go win the game. But they get a personal foul penalty after the 3rd down. The guy was, and I've totally lost who it was trying to punch the ball and just kept punching after the whistle. Gets a flag, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, game's over. And there you have it. Just a dumb way to finish off your chances. It was going to be, slim chances already, and you just make a stupid mistake. That's just, it speaks a lot to a team that's 2-8 or whatever they are, or 2-7 now, whatever their record is. It speaks to the dumb things that teams like that do. Another team that was 2-7, I think, is 3-7 now. The New Orleans Saints get a win over the Falcons. Falcons look rough, you could say. Could have kind of extended their lead out in the NFC South, but alas, they will not. They fall to 6-4, so the Bucs stay in it. They're still involved. They're not done yet. Chargers get another win. They keep winning. Eagles pound the Cowboys, and the Cardinals put it on the Jets. We'll get here when we talk standings in a little bit, but the Jets are. I said, hey, maybe if the revitalization. That's not right. I can't say the right word. Revitalization. No, revitalization. Jeez, I'm an idiot. Maybe if I said last week, maybe if the revitalization of the Jets comes, it's because I wrote them off, and I said the Aaron Rodgers experiment was a complete failure. And, hey, maybe if that second half against the Texans, maybe, it's all good. They'll figure it out, and you can say I was the driving factor in that. But I said I'm not sold, and feeling pretty good about myself saying I'm not sold. Because the Jets put it on the Cardinals. I think Kyler led 3 straight 70-yard drives to open the game for 3 straight touchdowns. while the Jets could only manage 2 field goals. They got Marvin Harrison involved a little bit, and 31-6. They put that last score up, in the third quarter. Just if you look down the stat line, total yards 406 to 207. They were gaining 7.1 yards a play compared to the Jets' 3.8. Just a total beatdown of the Jets. The Jets are in a bad spot. It hasn't gone well. Hasn't gone well at all. Eagles, like I said, run out the Cowboys. Just the Cowboys are lost too. In one of the crazier games I've witnessed in a long time, the Detroit Lions down 23-7 at half. Jared Goff throws 3 interceptions in the first half, and somehow, some way, they come out, they get a turnover immediately to start the second half with the Texans getting the ball. And then Jared Goff throws another interception. And then there's another interception. But somehow, some way, they score a couple touchdowns, they get it to a 3-point game, and a couple of field goals go in late for them. And, those field goals go in by a combined, 3 feet. I mean, that ball was close to each goalpost. The first one, the tying one on the right, the game-winning one on the left. And the Lions keep winning. The Texans are reeling a little bit right now. The Texans are reeling a bit, and it's made things very interesting for the Texans as well. Because, they were struggling with protecting the quarterback a little bit themselves. And man, the Lions just find a way to win that game. Their defense is playing out of their mind, really, if you just consider what was happening. I know they gave up 23 first-half points, but they were just put in bad positions. So, I mean, the Texans, it keeps it interesting down there. They're still ahead by 2 games over the Colts, but it felt like, man, if they could have got that, they could have pretty much cinched up the AFC South. So, I mean, just kind of running through the league here. If we start looking at some standings, obviously the AFC East it's done. I mean, I don't even know at what point they can officially clinch, but second place is the 3-7 Jets and the 3-7 Patriots chasing the 8-2 Buffalo Bills. So, I mean, the Bills have that division all but locked up. The Chiefs at 9-0. The Chargers are there at 6-3. They're knocking on the door of a playoff spot in Jim Harbaugh's first year. They're not winning pretty. They've only scored 186 points this year, but they've only allowed 118. I believe that is best in the AFC. It might be best in the entire football league. Yes, and it's best by a wide margin, about 20 points over the Steelers, 20-some points over the Steelers, but next closest after that is 40. So, I mean, it's a great defensive showing from them so far this year. The Steelers, I talked about, Russell and Muscle. They've won 4 in a row, 3 in a row with Russell. They're a little ahead of the Ravens right now. Steelers are at 7-2. Ravens are at 7-3. Bengals 4-6. Things are a little dicey for them. I mean, if you start talking, there's 3 wild card spots, and you look around the AFC. I mean, they're battling with the Broncos. It looks like the Chargers, the Ravens, the Bengals, and the Broncos are the teams fighting for those 3 AFC title spots. AFC wildcard spots. You can consider the Colts in there at 4-6. I feel like the Colts are a step down and don't have the record to their benefit. Like, I think the Broncos are a step down from the Ravens, the Bengals, and the Chargers as well. But they've got that 5-5 record to their benefit. So, things could break their way. Just that one game. Over in the NFC, you got the Eagles and the Commanders battling it out on top of the NFC East. The Cowboys and the Giants are a complete mess. The Cardinals, I've been telling you about the Cardinals, 6-4, out ahead of the 49ers. So that's going to be a close one because there's a lot of other spots up for grabs otherwise. NFC North, you got the Packers at 6-3 and third in the division. They got the Bears this week, the Lions and Vikings up at the top. Lions looking real tough. Falcons, Bucks, that's at this moment seeming like a one playoff division. So if you're looking at the wild card in the NFC, you've got the Eagles or the Commanders, so the NFC East is going to get 2 teams. So one of them takes up a spot. The Vikings are going to be in, so there's another spot. So when you start looking at the third wild card spot in the NFC, you're kind of looking between Maybe the 49ers or Cardinals, depending on how that goes. The Packers. Doesn't look like the Falcons or the Buccaneers out of the South can do it. If the Falcons come back and the Bucs can try climb up. But so I mean, you're looking at 49ers, Cardinals, Packers. The Rams are at 4-4. They have a chance to get a win tonight. There's some interesting playoff races, and it's crazy. At 6-3, the Packers are not in a great spot for the playoffs. Like, they have to keep winning. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough the rest of the way. So, speaking of all those things, let's see what we got coming up this week. Obviously, like I said, we got Packers, Bears. Everybody hates the Bears. Bears stink. Nobody likes the Bears. Nobody likes them. Eagles, Commanders, that's a huge one. Huge one Thursday night in the NFC East. What a game Thursday night we're going to get. 2 back-to-back bangers on Thursday Night Football. Raiders, Dolphins, who cares? Saints, Browns, don't really care. Jets, Colts, don't really care. Titans, Vikings, matters. The Vikings matter, so that's a game of interest. Packers, Bears, Lions, Jags. So of the 3 NFC North teams, those are all 3 very winnable games for those guys, and they're all kind of like win and keep pace games for everybody, or for the Lions, win and extend. Rams, Patriots. If the Rams can win tonight, which, who knows? Who knows what we get out of the Dolphins? That could be very important for them to keep that winning going. I mean, it obviously is important for them to keep that winning going, but it'll let us know how seriously we need to take them. Ravens, Steelers on Sunday afternoon in the noon spot. I'm pissed that's going on at the same time as the Packers. Good old-fashioned Ravens-Steelers rivalry. When both teams are good, those games are awesome. 49ers, Seahawks. Didn't really even mention the Seahawks much because they've been off this week, but they're at 4-5 in that NFC West. That's not out of it. So, again, that's a very important game for them coming up this week. There's every game for teams that are in it is going to be very important. Both those 49ers and Seahawks teams are chasing the Cardinals. Not something I thought we'd be saying at the start of the year. Another very interesting game, Falcons-Broncos. A couple teams coming off a couple losses, trying to keep themselves in it. Falcons trying to keep out ahead of the Buccaneers in the South. Broncos trying to stay in the wild card mix. Chiefs-Bills, game of the week, in a game that has some awesome games. Like I said, Ravens-Steelers. We got the great Thursday night game of Commanders-Eagles, and we got Chiefs-Bills at that 3:30 slot. My favorite slot of football. Don't have to stay up late, but man, that's a good one. And then again, Sunday night, we have some just banger matchups with high playoff relevancy. Bengals-Chargers. Can Joe Burrow go into LA, get it done against a tough defense and a Chargers team that wants to make the playoffs themselves? And then Texans-Cowboys Monday night. The Texans got to bounce back against the Cowboys. So we got another fun week of NFL football coming. We had a good one this week. I'm excited, man. There are some great playoff matchups. Not playoff matchups. Well, they could be playoff matchups, but playoff caliber matchups all across the league. This is going to be a fun week, man. I am pumped up. College football this week. Just a quick recap of Penn State. Not much to talk here. They go out and handle business against Washington, like many expect in the win. I wrote a note to myself. I said, I'm going to be positive about Penn State this week on the pod. That's what I wrote. I just wrote that because I wrote down, the first thing I wrote was, they keep bringing in Prabula and running him to the short side of the field. I said, no, I'm going to be positive. They still have a great chance to make the playoff. They have 3 very winnable games for the rest of the year. And, I was going to be positive. So here I am being positive. Penn State has a just way to walk into the college football playoff, probably not have to play in the Big Ten title game against a tough Ohio State or Oregon team and pick up a second loss. So they should be able to waltz right in, host a home playoff game. And that's the good I'm taking out of this. So there are a couple things. Obviously, Miami goes down this week. They lose to Georgia Tech, who has a kind of an interesting matchup with Georgia coming at the end of the year. Elsewhere, not much. Indiana gets by Michigan. The kind of the next big one was Ole Miss dominated Georgia. Lane Kiffin, who had a similar kind of experience to James Franklin, like 1-10 against top 5 teams, gets a big win for himself, and Georgia gets taken down by Ole Miss. Ole Miss reasserts itself into the playoff conversation, and the playoff conversation is quite muddied now. Colorado with a win, Oregon wins, Tennessee wins, Alabama dismantles LSU, keeps their playoff hopes alive, probably extinguishes LSU's. Pitt loses, Boise State keeps winning, keeps their playoff hopes alive. So, most of what I want to talk about was like more playoff based as opposed to just complete results. I watched some college football. Nothing really caught my eye other than the games I just mentioned, but here's the new top 25. And I wonder if I'll share this with you guys. I've got to go on split screen here, see if this will work out for me, but who knows. Okay, so we got Oregon at number 1, nothing crazy there. Ohio State, Texas, again, Penn State back up to 4. Win out, and you're in. Indiana comes flying up to 5. So, I mean, if you look at that, you got 1 Big Ten team, 2 Big Ten teams, 3 Big Ten teams, 4 Big Ten teams in the top 5. Pretty crazy. Tennessee, BYU, looking to get that Big 12 bid. Notre Dame, Alabama, Ole Miss, Georgia. Miami falls to 12. But you got to keep in mind, Boise State right now is in line for that group of 5 or whatever the heck they're calling, the outside the power schools, to get a bid in themselves. So there's a couple of things to consider here is that the SEC is a mess, an absolute mess. And there are going to be a lot of teams with 2 losses for them. So, I mean, if you're looking at, 2-loss SEC teams, you have Alabama, Ole Miss with 2 losses, Georgia with 2 losses. They're all sitting right there. There's games for Tennessee where they have to play another big team. I think Tennessee and Texas play somebody. But the SEC is just a wide open, just craziness in how it could finish out the year. So, I mean, if you look at the SEC standings, I'll get it pulled up here as I'm rambling. If you look at the SEC standings, in conference, Tennessee, Texas A&M, who we shouldn't forget about, they could end up in the SEC title game, and Texas all have 1 loss. Then the next 5 schools, Georgia, Ole Miss, Alabama, Missouri, LSU all have 2 losses. So there's a lot of craziness that could be involved. And there's going to be a lot of questions about, say a 2, maybe even a 3-loss SEC school getting into the playoff. And I'm sure that's going to ruffle some feathers if a 3-loss SEC school gets in the playoffs. Say against say SMU goes undefeated and makes it to the ACC title game with a pretty poor, strength of schedule. And then Miami beats them. And then Miami's in because of the automatic bid. But does a 1-loss SMU team get eliminated because they lost the game in a conference title game? Just that's very interesting. And I think it's all roads lead to that at the moment. Clemson technically sitting above Miami in this ranking. I don't know how that all works out, but obviously the rankings don't come out till Tuesday night, well after the pod is published and recorded. So a lot of crazy stuff can still happen in the world of college football. Colorado still very much involved in that Big 12 conference championship. So this week we got ranked matchups. We got Missouri and South Carolina. Tennessee and Georgia is the big one. Georgia, again, 2 losses. They're fighting for their life now. They're in win or go home mode, it kind of seems. Tennessee, only 1 loss right now, but if they fall out of the SEC title game, who knows what happens with that. There's a real scenario where a lot of these SEC teams can end up with 2 losses. Where am I at? So if you go to next week, not this coming week, Texas plays Kentucky, but Texas has to play somebody coming down the stretch. They go to Vanderbilt. They have to play Texas A&M. So there's one, where there could be another wrench thrown in there. Alabama plays Auburn, LSU, Oklahoma. I'm trying to think. I thought there was one more. Ole Miss plays Mississippi State in week 14. Who does Ole Miss play this week and next week? They play Florida next week. This week, they are off this week, so they kind of skate through that. So a lot of craziness can still go on. Penn State goes to Purdue this weekend. Again, win that game. If you look forward, Penn State at Minnesota, That's probably the one trip up, and then they host Michigan State to end the year, I believe. No, sorry, Maryland. Host Maryland end of the year. So, and then next week we also get Indiana, Ohio State. A 2-loss Ohio State team that doesn't make the Big Ten title game. Where does that factor in? The 12-team playoff has made a lot of intrigue, and it's been awesome. The fact that we went so long without playoffs in college football, and then when we did get it, we just got the 4 teams. But, man, the 12-team playoff has just been absolutely fan-freaking-tastic. I can't say how much better it's made my not enjoyment of college football, because if I watch a good game, I like it. It's my interest in college football and all the different teams I become much more interested in. It just makes it better. I mean, BYU and Colorado, would I care about BYU and Colorado at all in a 14 playoff? Like, you'd be like, neither of those teams are getting in unless some weird shit happens. And maybe you root for the weird shit, but like, now there's obviously one clear path for them to get in, and they're involved. And the SEC getting all jumbled up. The Big Ten, the big schools are kind of staying away from each other outside of Indiana and Ohio State. What does a 1-loss Indiana team that doesn't make the Big Ten title look like? Where do you rank them against a 1-loss Penn State team that doesn't make the Big Ten title if they both have a similar loss to Ohio State? Who knows? So a lot of fun stuff out there. Very excited to see how this all turns out. Very interested to see what the next college football rankings look like. God, as fun as the NFL is, college football is right there with it, so that's awesome. Nice. Let's keep going. All right, a little hockey, a little basketball here. Another banner week for the Flyers. 1 win, 2 losses. I think the biggest story, though, is that Tortorella has sat Big Meech, Matvei Michkov, the last 2 games. Healthy scratch. Just not playing him. I don't get it. The first game, they were able to pull off a victory in the shootout. Second, they weren't. They knocked in the first 2 goals of the shootout against the Lightning. But I just don't get the reasoning behind not playing this kid. Like, this kid is the future of the Flyers. Get him out there. Get him some experience. I mean, to me, there's just no viable reason to not play the kid. I can't explain it, and it feels like, I don't know. The Gordon boys tell me that Tortorella's time here is short. I believe at the start of the year, Troy told me he would be gone by Christmas. We'll see. But again, another paltry week for the Flyers. They're on the road all last week. They're home Monday night here any minute now against the San Jose Sharks. They play the Senators on Thursday and the host the Sabres on Saturday. So they remain last in their division. Just 12 points, tied down there with the Blue Jackets. That's already 10 points behind the Devils. It just seems like it's another season of just losing. So it's like, what are we doing here, man? Like, why not play your young stud? Get him some experience. He was the rookie of the month in the NHL in the first month. Like, get him out there. Get him out there. Let him go. The Heels, the Tar Heels, they were back. They went to Kansas. What? By the way, and Kansas will be coming to Chapel Hill next year. What a great way to do it, having these teams play home and homes. I know Kentucky, Duke, Michigan State, and maybe Kansas too, do the thing where they both play on the same night, but it's all neutral site, and it's not the same. I mean, the Fog was rocking, just absolutely rocking at the end of that game, like all game long. Like, that environment is just so awesome. It's what makes college basketball great. And to do those things at neutral court sites when you have these big games, it's just no fun. Yeah, it's Kansas, Michigan State in the early game on Tuesday night, and then Kentucky, Duke in the late game. And it's played, where are they playing that at? Does it say? Atlanta. They're playing those games in Atlanta. Like, just have those teams play home and homes every year, man. It'd be so much better, and I know there's money involved and different things of that nature, but the atmosphere in Kansas was so awesome. And it's just a shame that those games, don't happen more like that. And Kansas had done it. North Carolina did a thing where they played a December game with Kentucky home and home a couple years. Like, keep that stuff up. But the game. Carolina was down by as many as 20 in the first half and came back and actually took the lead in the second half. Weren't able to pull it out, but gutty performance that they didn't quit. Hostile environment, got themselves back into it. Was it Jalen Withers? I mixed it. Yeah, Jalen Withers made a couple of huge threes in the second half. Got to the hole. I think all 11 of his points came in the second half. Didn't seem like RJ Davis' best game. It's a lot's going to fall on him this year. Seth Trimble had a very nice game, scored 19 points, knocked down a couple of threes, a couple of shots you wouldn't have seen him taking last year. But there's a lot of turnover. I mean, RJ Davis, Seth Trimble, and Elliot Cadeau are really the only guys who played significant minutes on this team last year. Trimble's going to be asked to do a lot more scoring. RJ Davis is going to have to handle a lot of load scoring. And Cadeau is going to have to be a big-time player. I mean, those three all played. Davis 37 minutes, Trimble 33, Cadeau 32. Only one other player over 20 minutes. And only, so, there's going to be a lot of new faces for this team. A lot of spread out scoring. I mean, they scored 89 points. So, I mean, you're going to have to get a lot of guys to score. Ian Jackson scored 10 points. Then Allen Lubin scored 10 points. Jalen Withers 11. And then the big three, 16 from Davis, 19 from Trimble, 12 from Cadeau. Davis got a lot of those points from the foul line. I'm not knocking him for getting points from the foul line. I've always thought that people who knock people for getting points from the foul line are dumb. Like, if you get to the foul line, cause the other team to pick up fouls and score points at the same time, by all means, do it. They're called free throws for a reason, because they should be free points. And if you can do that, but like, he just didn't do a lot elsewhere. And it feels like they're going to need more out of RJ Davis. And that may be unfair at times, and that may be asking a lot of them. It's just the way it is with this Carolina team this year. They're going to need a lot from RJ Davis. So they play again on Friday against American, and then again the next Friday against Hawaii. So not a whole lot for them before Thanksgiving. They do play Dayton. But after Thanksgiving, they have a big matchup with Alabama. They play Florida before conference play, and then UCLA as well. So some fun games coming up for them before they get the conference. And excited for college basketball to be back. Time for some passing thoughts. There was an election this last week. I gave you my solution to if your candidate lost. And I should have said, even if your candidate wins, you should do the same thing. You should shut the fuck up and go to work. So hopefully everyone has shut the fuck up and gone to work and contributed to this country some more. But yeah, Donald Trump comes back after 4 years in the wilderness, wins the Electoral College 312 to like 220, 226 doesn't make sense because it's 220, whatever it is. It's whatever 312 minus 435 minus 312 is, whatever that comes out to be. 223? No, 333. Whatever. 233. 233 and 312? That's 425. I don't know. I can't count. Figure it out. But the bigger story was that he won the popular vote, the first Republican to win the popular vote since George W. Bush in his second presidential run. He lost the popular vote in his first presidential run, as did Donald Trump. And only the third time a Republican has won the popular vote since the 90s, since 1992. Last time before that was George H.W. Bush in 1988. Very interesting, all the stats and demographics. I'm not going to get into it too much, but I did find one thing funny, and it's the same thing every year. When the losing side has a meltdown, and they're funny most of the times. Like, it's great, like the doom and the gloom, and it's also just not real. Like, the Democrats almost assuredly will pick up House seats and Senate seats in 2026 in that election. It happens almost every time in the first midterm election of a presidency. The opposing party almost always picks up seats, sometimes in large ways. It happens all the time. And, it's like, oh my God, we're never going to win another election. Like, our message just isn't working. Da, 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 da. And yeah, as much as I think the message doesn't work at the time they lose, God knows what goes on in the next 4 years. There was a funny thing I saw on Twitter. I forget even who it was. Like, if you try to predict right now who the next Dem nominee will be, you'll almost assuredly be wrong. You might have a better idea with the Republicans because they're going to be in. You would think J.D. Vance, the vice president, runs. But like, if you go back in time and look at, who the nominees would be, maybe sometimes you get them. Like Hillary Clinton seemed pretty, not totally logical. You thought maybe Joe Biden, but Clinton in 2016 seemed like it. But on the Republican side, it almost 100% seemed like it was going to be Jeb Bush. Trump came out of nowhere. Obama came out of nowhere in 08. Up until, prior to that, he was almost an unheard of. Like, things happen that change so rapidly. And like the doom and gloom, it's like they do this every time. Like when Romney lost to Obama, it's like, oh my God, the Republican Party is so out of touch, they'll never be able to win again. Boom, next election, Donald Trump wins. Like the swing voters in this country seem to get sick of whatever party, because they are swing voters. They obviously don't align with either party too much. It seems like they're kind of left out in the wilderness. So like whatever happens, they're like, yeah, we'll try the other side again. So it's like the doom and gloom is funny, especially if you're on the winning side, or even if you're not, you can like look at the doom and gloomers in your own party and be like, just fucking relax. But it just never seems real. There's such ebbs and flows in the way politics works that, like, again, the Democrats are almost assuredly going to pick up seats in the House and Senate in 2026. And then we have another presidential election that nobody knows what's going to be going on. No one knows what events are going to happen in the world. So it's just funny to me. It's just funny to me. I saw that the guy who plays Terry Silver from Karate Kid and then the Cobra Kai show is actually younger than Ralph Macchio, the guy who plays Daniel's son. And it blew my mind that the dude who's supposed to like be playing like, I don't know, 10, 15 years old. He's supposed to be a Vietnam vet in the first one in like the mid 80s, like what, 84, 85. And Daniel's son's supposed to be like 16. So, 10, 15 years older, and he's actually like 5 years younger. Just kind of broke my mind a little bit there. I also had this thought watching Brooklyn Nine-Nine with the roommate currently. And, we watch, 3, 4 a night sometimes, like a movie's worth a night, give or take, depending on what's going on. Much more so now that I can't do anything because of my knee. But, it's like the thought of watching sitcoms one a week on a schedule, like 8 o'clock, we watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine on Wednesdays. Like, the thought of that in today's day and world is just absolutely absurd to me. And like the thought of like, oh, we watch one show, it's 22 minutes, there's 8 commercials. Like, it's such an outdated concept that I just can't even imagine. And I even grew up in this world like where that feels normal. But hey, the world changes, and the world changes fast. Auburn basketball had an interesting situation. They had to turn their flight around because there was a fight. I didn't look into this too much more. I kind of forgot until I just looked at my note. But yeah, they had to turn their flight around and go back because there was fighting on the plane. Just absolutely absurd. And I saw another one. I don't know if it was I think it was Costa Rica or Honduras. Honduras, maybe? A Spirit Airlines flight was getting shot at trying to land. Haiti. It was Haiti. Oh, great place down there, Haiti, apparently. Watched Den of Thieves. Saw that movie. Gerard Butler, 50 Cent. Fun movie. Very much Heat-esque. Felt very Heat-inspired. Had a lot of similar elements. But fun movie. Really enjoyed it. I see they're coming out with a second one. Don't know if I love the plot of the second one that I saw, that Gerard Butler's been kicked out of the police. I mean, I guess that makes sense the way that dude acts in that movie. Unhinged, as a good friend of the program, Ethan E. Sexton, said to me. But unhinged was the words he used. But I liked it. Den of Thieves, fun movie. Really enjoyed it. What else? Oh, I came up with a realization this week that I've needed to add 2 places to my sports bucket list. It's LSU football for a night game, and it's go to Fog Allen, Kansas for a basketball game. The atmospheres at both those places looked incredible this weekend. Everything from game day up until the game, but until the game started, pretty much when Alabama started kicking the shit out of them. And then Fog Allen looked just absolutely awesome during that North Carolina game. I mentioned a little bit ago about how awesome the home atmospheres in college basketball can be. I've been to a couple college basketball stadiums, Syracuse, a couple smaller ones like Cortland, went to North Carolina as well. Obviously, that's not smaller, but definitely want to get around to some more. Duke, Kansas at the top of those lists, and definitely want to get to. I just got to get down to the SEC to watch some football. Just means more down there, they say. But yeah, an LSU night game seems absolutely incredible. Definitely got to get myself into that. On the home front here, I get to walk this week in all likelihood. Hopefully, knock on wood, everything goes good at my follow-up appointment. Your boy will be putting some pressure on his left leg for the first time in 6 weeks. Start refiguring out how to walk. Have not walked in 6 weeks. Starting as of Wednesday, it would be 6 weeks, and the appointment's on Thursday. So hopefully, we'll be coming out of that trying to figure out how to walk. The PT's been progressing, but now we start the new stuff where we're actually getting some weight on the thing and seeing what we can do. And I guess we'll just on the last note here, got to say R.I.P. to Ben Herbstreit, the golden retriever of Kirk Herbstreit, who took the world by storm these last couple years. Unfortunately, he had some cancer, and they had to let him go. Just tributes all over. As a dog lover, a dog owner myself, dogs are awesome, man. It was the video Kirk did where he kind of talked about Ben was incredible. I wasn't crying while I watched it. I didn't cry at all. Not at all. Not once. And it was dead. God, the fucking game day people, right before they played it, they threw it to Kirk to have him say some words. Poor guy was just choked up to all, just really broken up about it, obviously. And can't believe they did that to him on live television. That seemed cruel. But yeah, R.I.P. Ben. Dogs are awesome. And the best line in there was, dogs' only flaw is that they aren't with us long enough. And that's so true. Dogs are great. I love my dog. Boomer's the best. So if you got dogs, enjoy your time with them. They're the best. Let's go wrap this thing up before I start crying again. Closing time, everybody. You ain't got to go home, but you got to get the heck up out of here. But thank you, everybody. Thank you. I forgot to say at the top of the show, thank you so much. I appreciate your watches, your listens, the support, the feedback, everything. Thank you so much. I just appreciate it so much. I hope you're enjoying this as much as I am. As always, rate, review, comment, subscribe, share, do all that good stuff. Also, check out the Full Range podcast. Our guy, MJ, the first week's episode is up. You can find it on his own Spotify channel, the Full Range podcast. It is currently on the Ole Walls House YouTube channel. Check those out. MJ does a great job over there. And subscribe to that as well. Going to be back next week as always. Got some fun stuff, obviously, with college football, with the NFL. I talked about great week ahead in the NFL. College football craziness coming down the stretch. A little college basketball, some hockey still going, obviously. All sorts of fun stuff. And what else? Am I missing anything? Oh, and hopefully I'll be walking next week. I don't know if we'll be back to the studio, if you will, but we'll work on that. We're going to be working our way back down there. So till next week, peace.